Hello and welcome to Phuket Property Talk. We are joined by veteran real estate agent Stephen Morris. He was selling properties when I was dancing to Spice Girls in a school disco. So Stephen Morris has had a really successful real estate business in London on Harrow on the Hill, and he still continues to operate there, but also a 16-year veteran in the Phuket property market. And thank you very much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
So let's jump straight into it. What are the differences between buying a property in Phuket compared to buying a property in the UK?
Oh, a huge difference. The UK market is essentially a very old market. Many of the procedures have been in place for decades, if not longer than that. The main difference is buying property in the UK. The concerns are, or the way the purchase is operated, are for the land and the building that's on the land. For example, in the UK, you would have properties surveyed, you'd be looking at electrical and plumbing installations. You would be equally concerned with the building as with the history of the land. In Thailand, the emphasis is more on the land, with the building and the house almost being secondary nature. For timescale, for buying a property in Thailand, in a case where there is no mortgage involved, there is no discovery, other than looking into whether the title is legitimate, the title has been upgraded correctly to the kind of title that you can purchase. One can go to the land department almost immediately and transfer the property. Within the UK, unless it's a cash purchase, the process from viewing a property to actually committing and exchanging contracts on that property can take between 2 and 3 months. The entire process to actually moving in could take up to 4 months. This is because solicitors, lawyers are required to make many inquiries, which here we don't have. The emphasis is purely that the land is on what we call a safe title. It has been correctly upgraded from a lower form of title and is quite safe for one to own and transfer in the future without any worry that that title is going to be questioned. So difference on time and emphasis really compared land to land and building.
So buying a resale property versus buying a new build, what are the differences that you see when people are in the market?
It really depends on why people are looking to buy. If they want to buy, let's say, for an investment, something they may use from time to time, new properties are very appealing in a market that they don't really understand. They have a product coming which would have a building guarantee, something that in many cases would have the facility they can give it back to the developer and they will rent that for them, and they will provide them in many cases a guaranteed return, which is preferable for many buyers that reside for the majority of their time abroad. They don't really want to be involved with the nitty-gritty of renting in and out. They'd far rather buy it, pass it to someone and have all that work done for them. Buying a resale property, if it's for that purpose, requires a lot more work. Requires them to provide maintenance, which otherwise they wouldn't have to do. So I think it depends on the purpose of buying. It depends if the buyer is resident in Thailand. It depends if the buyer is just the occasional visitor, maybe with a plan to move here at some point in the future. I think for people that actually reside here full-time or for the majority of their time, they quite like the fact that a resale property will be a more reasonable cost. When buying anything new, whether it will be a property or whether it will even be a car or a boat, if you buy new, you pay a premium for that. And that premium is the fact that everything is brand new. There are guarantees attached to it and is completely trouble-free. With buying resale, particularly I guess in Thailand, because we don't really look to the property, you are taking on board any maintenance issues that may crop up from time to time. But as we were saying before, the primary factor that influences value in Thailand is actually not the property. It is the size of the land that the property sits on. Building cost and maintenance cost in Thailand are far lower than other parts of the world, particularly London, where our other office is. So many people take the view, if the land is in a good position, then they really aren't particularly concerned about the building that sits on the land, even to the extreme point in many cases where the view is to acquire the land, knock the building down completely, and build something brand new that is exactly to their taste.
I find that a lot of my buyers, it's taste related. I mean, rule number 1, 2, and 3 of real estate is location, location, location. However, when it comes down to the buyers that I see, it really comes down to taste. And I think Phuket in general, and the Asian property market in general, has seen an amazing evolution of getting better with design and building materials being more eco-friendly. However, I do see other developers, not backtracking, but, taking shortcuts. When it comes down to it, I mean, how do you recommend to your clients a new build versus a resale? Or does it come out in the discovery, the type of property that they want?
It comes out in the discovery, really. It depends what they have. Everybody has in their mind's eye an ideal property. The advantage is with buying something that is resale is that you can then go in and change it to be exactly as you want it to be. And as I say, in the most extreme example, actually knocking that down and building something which is ideal. When buying something brand new, yes, you have all the guarantees and the warranties, and it is absolutely shiny and brand new, but you are working with what the developer has provided for you, which would normally be part of a development of other very, very similar, if not identical, houses.
Yeah.
I think it depends on really what your ideal property is in your mind.
Yeah.
Resale, you can make it as you wish. Buying brand new, you will take essentially what you're given.
Yeah. I mean, when you're building a villa here, obviously you do get a hand in certain aspects of the design. When you're buying a condo here, brand new, you kind of just pick the layout that they offer you, and they offer you an amazing furniture package that is tailored to their rental market aspirations, I would say. However, when you're renovating over here, yes, you can do everything that you want to. However, there is a language barrier between you communicating what you want and what you're going to eventually get. I think there's enough companies over here that can give you what you want, and communication in Phuket rather than other parts of Thailand is far superior in English. What experience have you had with buyers buying and then renovating a property?
Well, my normal view is the language barrier is a problem, but there are several builders and several development companies and several interior design companies that the main point person will be a non-Thai and will be there to project manage the case for you. I think I would recommend anyone who doesn't speak Thai against doing the project themselves. I think it makes far more sense for them to employ a company or a person that does speak English fluently and also speaks Thai fluently. Now, that person, of which we know many, may very well be a foreign person or may very well be a Thai person. But the importance is you communicate to them what you want, and they will then pass that on to the workforce. You have one point of contact to speak to. And I think that is incredibly important, and by doing that you will end up with exactly what you want. If you try and do it yourself, not through any fault of the builders, who, let's face it, are the native population. So it is really their right that they should be instructed in the local language. It really would fall down to I suppose, the house owner to really be sure that they're communicating effectively what they want to be done.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself positioned in the market at the moment? Because you've got so much experience, and you've got your local office in Katu, which is the center of Phuket.
Correct.
How do you see yourself in the market? What's your main focus? What kind of a customer do you attract?
I mean, I think we have a Thai staff, and we have myself heading foreign staff. Really, it's more down to the buyers that would respond to our various ads and would come to see us. Personally, I would attract more the foreign buyers. In all ranges, but certainly the traditional foreign market is probably a minimum of 10 million baht, going up really to any figure at all. The Thai market, which my Thai staff normally would attract because their Thai is a lot better than mine, would be below that. Different buyers looking for different things. As I say, referring to what we were talking about before, the foreign buyers like shiny, sparkly things. They are as much concerned with the house or the apartment as they are with anything else. For the Thai buyers, their primary concern is to have as much land as possible, with the house almost being, of second value. And in Phuket, we have a massive diversity of property. Certainly comparing it to prices in my London office, for our highest prices here in Phuket, we can certainly go toe to toe with some of the very expensive properties we have in London. Again, they would really be attracting mainly foreign buyers. Although there is a section of the Thai higher classes that particularly do like Phuket, mainly Bangkok based, would be buying Phuket homes as second homes, who are not phased at all about spending 40 or 50 or more million baht for a good property.
Yeah, I mean, I have an amazing wide spectrum of buyers. I would say my market is primarily people relocating from the Middle East. So expats relocating from the Middle East. We do a range of services that, cater to that market. We do a range of services for just investors looking for something that they can buy and give to somebody else to manage. However, I think your speciality in being an agent for so many years is that you can really sniff out a good deal and give a good pricing.
Sure. Well, we try and price accurately. We try and price for what the value of a property would be worth. But I find that we attract a lot of the expat buyers coming into Thailand that are very unfamiliar with the processes in buying property in Thailand, about what they can own, what they cannot own. And there are so many misconceptions out there about how a foreigner goes about owning property here. Many things are true, many things are completely untrue. But I think it's very important when a buyer coming into the market knows what they can and cannot do. I find many buyers do their own separate research into this, but I think it's something where certainly us as agents, being foreign agents essentially, we already understand what's in the buyer's mind and what they expect the process is to be, and we can tailor their buying experience here to match that and explain the differences between the two.
Yeah, I think, explaining the process to buyers one by one, making sure they get it. I even asked them to repeat back to me. How do you understand?
To confirm understanding.
Correct.
Makes complete sense.
And also the other thing as well, like there's a lot of positives, there's a lot of, there's, I wouldn't say negatives, but there's a lot of differences in looking at buying property here compared to somewhere else. But it's not as complicated as people think it is.
The ownership process is incredibly simple here. depending on which route you take.
Yeah.
And some, I mean, as we know, the only true form of direct ownership to have your name on the title is with what we call a foreign freehold condo. But that doesn't mean the various other routes are not equally satisfactory in terms of controlling your home, because in many occasions it's not so much about overall ownership, it's about control of the home you live in.
Yeah.
The fact that you can buy it, the fact that you can sell it, the fact that nobody can take it away from you, that is as important as having your name on the title.
Correct.
And I think it's important that people understand the differences, and they understand which aspects are safe, which they can do, which they cannot do. And I find that many of let's say the commentators out there advising foreigners about how they can and how they cannot own or control property, sometimes they do miss out some very important factors, which may very well affect them when they come to sell in the future.
Yeah, I think, when I'm guiding my clients towards the ideal property for them, and I essentially it's their choice at the end, but I really believe that certain structures work for certain types of buyers. Other structures just wouldn't work. I think that there's a lot of misconception about purchasing. Let's say, for example, I want to buy a villa with a sea view. Well, actually, everything that you've told me points towards you actually buying a condo. And if you're okay with going this road, then, this is what I can show you. I'll still show you what you want in your dreams and aspirations. However, maybe this would be better for you. Myself personally, I want space. I want land, and I've got a plethora of kids that need space. However, if you're a single person or just a couple, maintenance on a villa as it ages, it's a really large task, and it's not something to just go, oh, I want a villa. Sometimes you really need to think about maintenance and upkeep. And I get a lot of buyers that come to me for one thing and they end up buying something else. How do you see the buyers changing in terms of what it was 10 years ago versus now?
I think the main changes, let's be honest, over the last few years, there have been a lot of changes in the world. There have been various groups that now find it far more attractive to live in Thailand than live in their own country. These are quite often people who have a decent amount of money to spend. They don't really understand the market, and again it goes back to what we were saying, the differences between new and resale property. They want hassle-free. They want to come in with a suitcase, put their suitcase down, this is their new home, this is where they live. They don't need to worry about maintenance or security or any of those things. I see this as a massive growth area in particular parts of the island also. I find that the north of the island, areas like Bang Tao, Laguna, Cherntile, are receiving a lot of these types of buyers. And the more buyers that come of this type, the more buyers want to come of this type.
Yeah.
So it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. That's probably one of the main changes. I think also a lot of people, a lot of Thais within the country, certainly wealthier Thais, as we were saying before, mainly in Bangkok, find Phuket a very desirable place to have a second home, either Phuket or somewhere with a different weather system, maybe somewhere like Chiang Mai or something like that, or maybe having in both. Yeah. And certainly many have the facility to do that. But I think that's the main change. And also Phuket as an island, because it produces so much money in GDP for the rest of the country, from a central government point of view, is really prioritised with new infrastructure, new road systems, the new train system that's planned, the new airport terminal that was built specifically for international travellers only a few years ago. So in many ways, Phuket is almost like a different country to the rest of Thailand.
I think it's its own administration, or it should be eventually its own administration. It really is the golden goose compared to the rest of Thailand. My biggest observation of the changing market is moving more towards the luxury brands and branded residences.
Correct. As I say, I think this is driven by the fact that we're having a lot of foreign buyers coming from abroad, whose spending power compared to local buyer spending power is probably 2 or 3 times, because of what they're used to in their own country. A luxury penthouse would be a hell of a lot more than a luxury penthouse would be here. And because the market is there, that is pushing the value and the price of these things up.
One thing that I see with luxury penthouses and these luxury properties, a lot of buyers need to understand that this is a cash market in Phuket for foreigners. So I believe buying off plan gives them that staggering or staged payment that they need to get the money into the country, or basically just the time to gather their assets and put it all together and make a purchase. When you're buying a resale property, you need to gather that money ready to go. There's very few payment plans that can be comparable to the UK.
Well, I mean, occasionally a seller might offer a payment plan, and then we'll only pass the title over once the final payment is made. But this is in the minority. Not many would offer this. And the advantage with stage payments for a new build is you can monitor the build as it's going up. You pay at preset stages, so you can be really absolutely satisfied that what the final build is exactly what you want.
Yeah. So talking about new builds and what's going up in stages, I think that there's about 3,000 to 4,000 new keys opening up in Bang Tao. Now, a lot of people are going, oh my God, that's insane. But what I see is that the whole place is upgrading. Those 3,000 to 4,000 new keys, those new units that are being built, they're all of the higher scale. They're all, nearly all, branded residences. And the fact that they're answering the market that Bang Tao is offering, that is offering a lifestyle of amazing food, varied restaurants. You've got gyms and wellness places opening up. You've got so much. Okay, the beach for me, I hardly go to the beach. Only watch a sunset occasionally with a nice beverage. But the reality is, Bang Tao is drawing that upper market, the upper epsilons of buyers, and I really see Bang Tao as an area that's growing so well. However, the government does have to catch up with better roads, and they're almost there. There's so many new roads planned at the moment, and it's just okay. When are they going to break ground?
Well, I think the first thing to consider is, we say, these thousands of units that are being built in Bang Tao, and it gives the impression that the area is being completely overdeveloped, is turning into a concrete jungle.
Not at all.
But the reality is, historically, is that the south of the island has been the most densely populated part of Phuket, and the northern parts of the island, in the northeast, certainly even still today, really has seen very little mass development, and these locations really don't have a great deal in terms of property. So these properties that are being constructed are really just filling natural gaps.
I think so too.
And because of the kind of buyers we're having coming here, they find this particularly desirable. It's not only the construction of the properties, a lot of shops, restaurants, other facilities, shopping malls is all being built up. And even with all of these shops, even with all of these properties being constructed, the density of property in the northwest of the island is still far less than the south part of the island.
Oh, completely.
So it's just a natural kind of evolution of property. And I think that going forward, the northwest particularly parts of Phuket will be the most desirable parts of Phuket, and really, if anything, are certainly well on their way in that direction at the moment.
Could you imagine when you first come here to now that Phuket would evolve this well?
Yeah, absolutely not, because in the northwest of the island there was nothing.
Yeah, I remember.
It was just fields. It was open land. There was nothing there at all. There are many advantages to the northwest. The airport, particularly, proximity to the mainland. To drive from the very south of the island to get to the bridge to go to Phang Nga, right now is an hour's drive. To drive from northwest, Laguna, Bang Tao, Cherntalay, you'll be at the bridge in 20 minutes, if as long as that.
Yeah.
So I see it as a part of the island that well deservedly is receiving a lot of interest.
I think it's number one for my market, at least. I want to talk about the different locations and who they attract, because Patong traditionally used to get a lot of the the drinkers and the party people. I think the longer that you stay here, you kind of go to the quieter areas. I think the overspill reached Katu, and you've got the old school guys there. But the numbers in Phuket arrivals are growing, but I'm seeing less and less of the old guard and more of the wellness crowd. Do you see the same?
Oh, I'd agree with that completely. I think Patong is party town. In Patong, you could be anywhere. You could be in Ayia Napa, you could be in Ibiza, you could be anywhere. It shares very little with the rest of Phuket and Thailand as a culture. I think there's also a movement in Patong to turn it more from a party town, more into a shopping town.
I can see that.
We've seen Jung Silon reopen, being refurbished, some lovely new shops in there, some quite high-end shops also. We've seen the central department store open, and I see the demographic of Patong. It's still a desirable location from an investment point of view. I think it still makes a very good investment if you can appeal to the tourist, but certainly the type of tourist is changing.
100%. I see a much more, within the catchment area of Phuket. I mean, you've got 5-hour, 6-hour flight radius, and you're hitting half the world's population. And I see these emerging markets starting to come to Phuket now.
Oh, sure. I mean, we're seeing, from Phuket International Airport, we can reach certainly all of Southeast Asia, all of South Asia, much of Europe on direct flights.
Yeah.
We don't have anything scheduled direct with the UK at the moment, but I'm seeing a lot of these new growth areas, particularly India, for example.
Yeah.
There are now direct flights straight into Mumbai, a couple a day. And this, for the Indian tourists, this is a great environment because the weather is very similar to what they're used to, if not slightly better. And we're seeing a lot of rising Indian tourists, certainly in places like Patong and also the rest of the island. But as an international hub, the international airport makes Phuket very accessible to the rest of the world.
Yeah. So my observation from Middle Eastern tourists and Indian tourists is that they want multiple room properties. Now, they want multiple room properties when they're renting. There's a massive opportunity in the market to get multiple room properties and give them to a rental agency, or obviously, manage multiple properties yourself here. But I think there's an amazing opportunity where you're looking at buying something that's a good investment. I think, 3-4 bedrooms is far superior than a 1-bedroom rental at the moment. Do you see the same?
Particularly for the Middle Eastern Indian buyers, they would tend to come over as families.
Yeah.
Occasionally they would come over with staff and families.
Yeah.
So a 1-bedroom condo or 2-bedroom condo just isn't going to cut it. And also they are looking for something which offers similar accommodation to their own accommodation at home, which means nice big rooms, a lot of rooms, several bathrooms, and in an area that's accessible to local shops, restaurants, with the beach not being a million miles away. Although I'm not entirely sure if they would use the beach probably as frequently as we do.
No.
As we know, expats rarely go to the beach. We know it's there, but we don't visit very often. So particularly, in my opinion, areas like Bangtao, Laguna, Cherntale are attracting couples and families, whereas the further south of the island you go, again to Patong, maybe down to Rawai, you're looking at you're looking at a very different kind of budget, lower budget, and you're looking at a very different kind of traveller. So, as I say, it depends from a buying point of view, what really you're ideally looking for, because ultimately also a lot of buyers, they may have in their mind that these properties are rental properties, but they may very well visit themselves. They may very well settle themselves. So this has got to be considered as somewhere where they maybe even want to live themselves in the future.
I think for purchasing a property, obviously buy where you believe in, and it's your money, it's your choice. However, I do try and educate people in the different areas of Phuket, because there is a massive disparity in areas.
Enormous. I mean, quite often I get inquiries, where would you recommend in Patong? Oh, sorry, in Phuket. Where would you like to live in Phuket? The problem with Phuket is every town is different to every other town.
Yeah.
In some cases, the differences are enormous. What I normally say to people, I ask them questions, find out really what they like, what their tastes are. I'll give them a short list. What I normally say to them is book yourself in a hotel for a week or 10 days, hire yourself a car or have a driver, and have a look around yourself.
Yeah.
See which areas you like, maybe change accommodations a couple of times. But somewhere, for example, a condo in Bangtao is going to be vastly different for a condo in Patong or Garon or Qatar or Rawai, and you will know instantly if it's right for you or wrong for you.
Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. There's a couple more parts, so you can check the playlist below. And if you're not already, please make sure that you're subscribed to our channels. It really helps us push more content out there. So yeah, thank you very much, and Sawadee Krap.